All right, so again, just to introduce myself, I'm James. I work for Explore Gym. I've been in the industry since a spotty teenager, standing on a poolside, lifeguarding, cleaning, usual stuff, through to fitness instructor, membership sales, duty manager, the usual route that boys like me take. Ran a couple of gyms, then came out of the operator side and went to the supply side with through the software, and then into account management with David Lloyd, Nuffield, Exercise for Less, Gym Group, and now with Explore as a account manager, looking after some of our bigger clients. Okay. I've got Jack Burton here with me from Fit24. Jack, would you like to do a brief introduction on yourself?
That's just about it. Gym owner, guys, done it for coming up to 15 years, got 3 sites now, gone from a budget club charging £16 a month to now charging up to 50 or mid-50s for membership, and also including coaching up to 200 plus pounds a month. So
thank you very much.
We'll warm into it as we go.
And then I've got Sean Thornton here.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm just coming up to my 35th anniversary in the industry, so I'm probably one of the old farts now. I've started my career in 1990 from an operational perspective. I did that for 6 or 7 years in hotel leisure facilities, and then I moved on to the supply side, working for Star Fitness, which was Star Track. And when I was an account manager, I could never sell boxes. I could only sell. I was a shy northerner, so the only way I could justify selling equipment was to sell solutions. And I started to create. I had a virgin territory. When I started working for Star Trek, they gave me the M62 corridor all the way up to the Hebrides, and within that I had 2 clients, and they were my previous clubs. So I ended up working with like Glasgow City Council, and I created the Glasgow Club, the Highlands Council, I created the High Life Club. So I started to work with facilities, local authorities, try to optimise and maximise their revenue opportunities in the days where many local authorities weren't commercially savvy. I then had the opportunity, I got introduced to a Swedish entrepreneur called Mats Thulin. And Mats Thulin is a Swedish pioneer in the health and fitness market. And he's probably one of Europe's biggest entrepreneurs, and he'd set up a portfolio of over 200 Nautilus facilities from 1979 to when he sold out in 2008. He gave me the opportunity of setting up Easy Fitness, and Easy Fitness was a partnership business with local authorities. And again, we came in offering commercial solutions that optimise a room, a space, that created an income stream that exceeded both what the council were previously achieving from that room, but also allowed us to make a profit. So it became a win-win-win. So we were a partnership business. And then in 2009, there was, when I was in Easy Fitness, I built up a portfolio of 12 sites, and each of Easy Fitness facilities was a membership base between 1,000 and 2,500 members. And most of my gyms in the Easy Fitness portfolio were 40 stations and 1 or 2 studios maximum. So I was operating boxes within a box. And we were running successful businesses. I always looked at how do you optimise, sweat the assets. Look at what assets we got. And my biggest asset is my staff. And I'd always say is, for any of our businesses, once we've paid the rent rates and the utilities, the biggest expenditure we all have is our staff. So as an operator, I'm always looking at how do you sweat your assets and optimise the full potential of your facilities, which is how do you optimise your staff to deliver performance. And then in 2012, I was able to convert Easy Fitness into 315 Health Club. And in 2013, I took over a derelict site, which was a former Total Fitness site. We had been closed for 2.5 years, and in 2013 we launched EM315 Health Clubs. I'm proud to say today it's a health club we serve over 8,000 members. It's a facility that's got 3 swimming pools, 5 studios, 4 small group training areas. So programming is at the very forefront of what we're doing. I won't say it's been an easy ride. Anything that could go wrong in business over the last 12 years has gone wrong. It's had its costs personally and professionally, but like I say, today it's one of the biggest independent health clubs in the UK, and we service, like I say, over 8,000 members, from all members, all ages and all abilities, from 12-week-old to 90 plus, from complete beginners to world-class athletes. We facilitate them all. And but my biggest mistake I did was I launched it too cheap. The price was too cheap. At the time of my operational break-even when I took over this cold derelict building, I thought it was 120,000. The reality was it was nearly 200,000. But when you're opening up a membership base that was £25 a month, I'm break-even. I needed lots of members. And when I'm looking at pricing now, which we'll probably come on to in our discussions, is my break-even today is shot up. It's a big facility, lots of water, lots of people. I employ over 70 people. And my operational break-even this year shot up another 10%. It went up though from 250,000 to near enough 275 to 300,000 pounds every month. So it's a huge headache. And I say to my team when we're looking at pricing, what is it we're looking for? If we were looking to achieve 400,000, do we do it 8,000 members at £50, or do we go 5,000 members at 80? And what we're now doing as an organisation is how we're trying to transform the business, trying to take it from a £50 a month membership to an £85 a month membership. And that's what we'll be talking about today.
Thanks, Sean. And I'd thoroughly recommend, if you're up in Lancaster or you're in Hull, give these guys a call, go and see their clubs. Fantastic facilities. And then we've got Guy Griffiths from GG Fit.
I'll keep it brief, but I'll go all the way back to I used to deliver pizzas, so I'm trying to repent for that. I then worked in banking and IT for 10 years, so I'm also trying to repent for that. But I had a bit of an epiphany and thought, I don't want to help banks make more money. So I left the banking world in 2008, and that was nothing to do with me. I thought they'd be all right without me. And started GG Fit. So 17 years ago, I started GG Fit. My purpose is to help more people get fitter and healthier, but not working with the people like all you brave guys do. I work with clubs on retention initiatives. So all sorts of different retention stuff, all sorts of different clubs. I work mostly with, or probably like 50-60% of my clients over the last 17 years have been local authorities, councils, trusts. But I do work with quite a few independents as well, which is always really rewarding. I say you, I know there's all sorts of different types of club in the room, but independents know their members better, are quick at making decisions, and just generally more agile, I think. I've worked with a few budget changes as well for my sins. But yeah, I'm here to help people get fitter and healthier as a consultant. I'm also interested in health seekers, but that was yesterday. If you want more retention tips, then main stage today at 12 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Okay, so as part of what we do at Explore, we look at the industry, and my colleague Joe here, about every quarter, puts out some research that we've done. Fantastic stuff, really, really well written, really insightful. And it's not just about trying to sell out, it's about giving the industry some data back and some insights into how we think we can help the industry and help our members, help our customers, help our consumers be better. Okay. But one of the pieces of research we did, we asked operators, 60 operators, about their costs. And as we can see on here, 90% of them said their costs had gone up. Utilities, national insurance, minimum wage. Somebody said yesterday, Ms. Reeves is probably going to come and dig into our pockets over the next couple of weeks. So, very pertinent to the things we're talking about today. So if your costs have gone up by 90%, how do you cover those costs? Well, the obvious one is raising your prices, but interestingly, only 68% of the operators that we surveyed had actually raised their prices, raised their membership prices, which you kind of think, well, what's happening to the rest of that money? It's just eroding your margins. And we believe that there's a fear of doing it, okay? And that was borne out in some of the stats that we got back. But 76% said that they saw their profitability improve, which is great. They're doing the right things, they're charging the right prices, they're doing it at the right times, and they're increasing. 32% said they had members cancel, which doesn't surprise me. We've all been in this industry quite a long time. Members leave. Okay. unfortunately, what we didn't do is dig a little bit further into that stat to say, okay, was that natural attrition, or was that as a result of the price increase? So, I'll be honest, we haven't got that stat. It would be really great to do it, and hopefully we can look at that at a different time. Because that's quite a big, scary number. Okay, 32% of those operators had members leave. But was it because of the price rise? And if it was, what did they do right? What did they do wrong? And hopefully, again, after today, you'll be able to come out of here going, actually, when I did my price rise last year, I maybe got some of my communication wrong. Maybe I got the timing wrong. And these guys will give you their examples of when they've done it and how they've gone about that. So, 27% received member complaints. What a surprise! Members like talking to us. They like complaining about stuff. But again, we'll talk about the type of messaging that you can put out there, how you structure it, when you structure it, how do you inform your staff, what is the message in the talk track your staff have got to help go through this price rise. And these 15% that said they had no impact, great, that's wonderful. Any questions so far? All good? So what's the main goal of increasing your pricings? Well, to increase your profit margins, we want to make a bit more money. We want to make some more money for our own back pocket, but also to put back into the club, okay, to keep our constant improvement. Some people have got annual price increases or an annual establishment fee or whatever you might well call it. I think a couple of you guys have. We want to maintain or increase our profits, so that maintain is probably the important bit there, because we want to keep putting money back into the business, make our own profit, and benefit our members in that way. And then maintain or increase member satisfaction. Now, that's a bit of a weird one. We're going to put your price up and we're going to increase your satisfaction. Okay? Seems a bit bipolar to me, but again, we'll talk about some of the strategies that we think are the right things to be doing to increase your member satisfaction. And we've looked at 6 pillars here, and just take a second to have a look at those. And we're going to introduce the panel into some of these and get their opinions and guidance on some of the things that they've done, looking at these pillars to help tackle that fear of putting your prices up. So the first one, Sean, when you look at a price rise, when you look at what you want to do, and you said you £8,050 or £5,080, what drives you to making that calculation?
Well, effectively, we're all in business to make profit, because otherwise, why would we be here? And if we're not making profit, we haven't got a sustainable business. And I think and again, we're all entrepreneurial. Whenever we're doing it, we've probably done it by the shoestring, and we stretched ourselves. And I was no different in setting up Easy Fitness. Whilst I had a global partner, he had other initiatives that he was wanting to invest in. So, like I said, I was too naive when we first set up 12 years ago. Because I'd come more from the budgets. My operational history comes from hotel leisure, so it's more for the discerning clientele and discerning service. And that's why I always perceived health clubs to be. It was a third space, a place where you're not at home, you're not at work, it's a place where you go and relax. So I've always tried to offer, even though it was sometimes just a room full of gym equipment, I've always tried to create a vibe and a culture, and that was done through the service and the programming and the theatre that the team would put together. So when I set up 315, it had so many different facilities. It had swimming pools, studios, massive gyms, had a lot of space. So it was a case of then, I opened up and we were too cheap. Like I say, £35 was probably the average yield. I needed to be at 50. So how we did it in the early days to make profit, we just did it as a growth. So we went for volume sales. And we then tried to take all the corporate markets. So we now work with 146 different corporates within our local community. We're a population of 145,000. There was about 6 or 7 other facilities that was in competition with us when we first got established. Whereas now we're the main operator. So we are the main players, and there's about two of the main players have actually left the area. So we've now established ourselves, but over the last 3 or 4 years, we've needed to refresh and replenish some of the equipment. So rather than just replacing a treadmill with a treadmill or a studio with a studio, we said, right, how are we going to increase our yield? How do we go from £35? How do we raise it to £50? And then from £50, how can we go to £70? So what we started to do then, we did some research, we went to London, we come to events like this, and you see what the new craze is and what's going to be the future. So we created like Barry's Boot Camp and One Rebel. We had studio refurbishments. So we said, right, we're going to split the studio into 2 because we were quite big areas. And now we've got a HIT studio that will facilitate 40 people at any one time. That's as good as a Barry's Boot Camp type studio. We then created an immersive spin studio. And then we brought in some different spaces on the main floor, and we brought in small group training. And on the back of that, we then launched a new membership category. So instead of moving just a general for your off-peak and your peak time, we now brought in a Club Plus membership. So for an extra £25 a month, it give all the members would have access to our boutique type of services. So our higher class of new studios. So we introduced Barry's Boot Camp, or a sweat studio, to which we now run over 30 classes a week with over 30 people a time attending. It was a slow burner. It took us 18 months to get established. And, you know, so from that. But what we've now done over the last 18 months, we then converted the yoga studio and we put in Pilates. So we've now, we upgraded that. So we've now got 19 Pilates bed. It's one of the biggest Pilates studios in the Northwest. And we did it well. We shopped around, we got good prices, we reached out to stakeholders, suppliers. And when you come to events like this, reach out to your suppliers. Ask the suppliers what's on the forefront, what's going to hit the market to the new trends. How can they future-proof you? And what I've now done, we've now launched an outside studio. We've got a Pilates studio, the sweat studio, and the spin studio. And like I say, with 3 other small group training areas. And we've now got a membership base. We've grown our membership base from 7,000. We're now at just under 8,000. And our Club Plus is 1,000 members. So we're getting an extra 25,000 a month through now offering these services. But the beauty is, all these classes are run by in-house instructors that we have trained through apprenticeships. And for those that know us, they'll know that I've got a lot of staff retention. A lot of my team have been with me now for 12 and 13, 14 years. And they've all evolved from apprentice or like front of house to now club managers and performance directors. So they've grown up, they know the business. I don't give them all the answers, I do challenge them, and they're all business owners. So all my members of staff, so I have a swimming pool coordinator, she's facilitated, cover my utility costs. So she was challenged, make the swim skill, generate £50,000 every month. How do we do it? And they created the plan, and then they went and did it. Same way, studio coordinator, I want over 100 classes at 80% utilisation. How do we do it? Measure. Run the program, measure the stats. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. And if it works, do more of the same.
Sure, let me move on. So if I can summarise slightly, you added a new membership category.
Upgraded the facilities and utilised the upgraded facilities to launch a higher quality of membership.
So you're giving them the right option.
Yeah.
And you're adding extra value.
Yeah.
For that
And with 1,000 people, there's 1,000 people that are now on it. So when people say they don't want a higher price membership, we haven't forced the prices on people. We've given them now choices to a higher offering. And we say, which offering would you like, X or Y?
Thank you very much. Jack, in terms of timing that you would think about looking at 2026, looking at your numbers, when would you put a price rise in?
So we'd advertise it in April, and it would then come into place in July.
And would you do that for all the members straight away, or just the new joiners that are coming?
All the members.
All the members straight away.
I think again, like leading in following on from obviously what you said there about just making sure you consistently increase the standards of your club, whether it be through equipment, whether it be through, you know, daft little things. If you go to like pure gyms, for example, you'll see in the pure gym changing rooms that all the walls won't be tiled, they'll be painted, that kind of difference. You know, you making the attention to detail, putting the effort in tiling the walls, you know, like underneath the hand dryers, for example. You go into a pure gym, everybody's drying their hands. If they are washing their hands, you've got marks all down the walls. You know, like after a period of time, people walk up to that. It's some small attention to detail, which I think makes a big difference. We run a slightly different model to the one that you've just said there. Like we are quite focused on being like really good training facilities. And if you look back over like say the last 15 years, people have gone from going to gym in a spare pair of shorts and a t-shirt to now spending £200, £300 on a pair of trainers, £150 on a gym outfit that they'll have multiples of. So again, people are willing to spend money on fitness. Health has become massively fashionable through like Instagram, social media, and that kind of thing. So it's become people's, you know, third space in terms of home life, home work, and next place to go. We don't operate swimming pools. You know, it's something that I would never sort of go into. Just because I think
He's quite lucky.
There's
No, it's a
big-
blessing and a curse.
Yeah, there's big expenses, that kind of thing there. But I think for me, you know, we've gone from being, when I first had a club and took a failed club over at £16 a month. You know, I spent 8 years sort of going from £16 to £20, thinking that's a price increase over them 8 years. You know, and it was hard, but for me it was like the biggest lesson. So I mean, I left school, like most of us probably have a story about leaving school with no qualifications, all that kind of stuff. No one teaches you about finance, about you know, inflation eating away obviously your profits. I mean, we talk about obviously like price increases, things like that. Like, as far as I'm aware, we've had a price increase every year for the past 15 years. Like, it's no new, it's no difference to us, it's no news. But I think a lot of us suffer that, and then we realise like we can't keep doing this. So for me, it's like we operate very good training facilities. We are fully staffed, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We recently put towel service in. So it seemed daft, you know, people were like, yeah, I don't know if it'll work. Sweat towel in a bag, brand it, so it looks pretty good. And the thing is, like Riley, he works for me as one of the club, like sort of managers in the team. And I'd said, look, it's not about selling all 2.5 thousand members at one particular site, at this service, and trying to maximise it that way. But you might have 150 people that use the sauna facilities like on a regular basis. Just provide that solution to them. And then straight away, like we sold 3 people, which then led to 4 people, which leads to 5 people. You don't have to market it heavily. People see it, other people want it, and you provide a solution. But even like that, you know, you can have 50, 60 grand a year to your turnover from something so simple as just finding a problem that 100 of your members have, and then provide that solution. But yeah, going back to the original question, I think June's a good time, June, July, because you've had normally people get the pay increases, end of March, April, Christmas obviously is well gone. You're not getting to the peak of like holidays and things like that, so people aren't concerned about how much money they're spending here and there. But going back into again what people are willing to spend, we're now living in a time where people are spending £5-6 on a coffee and paying an extra quid for cream, going out and spending 12 to 18 quid on a cocktail. You know, so for you to turn around and say, well, look, for £50 a month for a gym membership, for example, it's not really a big ask when you can go there 7 days a week, you know, and utilise it for an hour and a half. And a lot of places have, like we have saunas, you know, you've got swimming pools, that kind of stuff. But what they're actually getting, it's a marginal cost, you know, if they're using it a couple of times.
Cool. Thank you very much. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, one of our customers, and we were talking about this, and they said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my prices up for my new members. So anybody joining in January is going to pay, let's say, 30 quid. But my existing members on that membership type are still only going to pay £28. But we'll move that in April. We'll communicate out to them. New members don't know, so it doesn't matter. They're paying that little bit extra, but my existing members will get that price increase later in the year. But how would I tell them, guys? How am I going to get my message out to my customers?
I'll just go back for a second. That's exactly what one of our longest clients, like 15 years, and it's an independent club up in Burnley. They're on Explore Gym now. And they are, it's around 4,000 they're over 4,000 members, around about £80 a month. Pretty premium club for Burnley, it is. And they do that price increase in January, and they've done it every year. Maybe bar 2021, I think something happened then. But yeah, they do that price increase every year in January, so counter to what you say, Jack. But all the new members coming in January, they're not put off because they're going to join anyway. I wrote an article a while ago saying double your join fees in January. Sounds a bit, wow, that's what Centre Parks do. If you want to know when it's half term, just look at Centre Parks pricing, because it jumps up. Anyway, they put their price up in January for all new members, and they communicate that, so I'm hopefully answering the question, they communicate that to all their members in January. New people coming in are paying more than you lot. In April, your price is going up as well. So, to get to your question, James, communicate it the best way you can. I would communicate it by email and text, and for those people that you can't email and text, you need to write to them legally, but don't write and hope that they don't open it. You need to write to them and tell them that this is what's happening, and I think crucially, clear, honest, confident, but tell them why, and tell them all the things that Sean and Jack were saying about this is the value we're giving you. This is why, this is how we're going to be doing the upgrade this year. Or actually, remember all those upgrades last year? They need paying for, and Rachel Reeves and whatever else, but yeah, be clear and tell them why you're doing it. Because then you'll get, onto the next part, fewer complaints, or you can basically, when people come in and complain, you can read them the email that they may not have read. Right?
I think the problem that obviously everybody faces as an independent, sorry to jump in.
No, please do.
As like an independent, especially, is that a couple of years ago we had like a monster obviously turn up to everybody's, to a lot of people's front doors, obviously called Exercise for Less. And Exercise for Less offered £9.99 memberships. I mean, back when I was 15, I used to, run a couple of miles, to go to a gym. I used to go to a Total Fitness that had charged me £35 a month. Told me I could only go until 6 o'clock and I had to be out at a certain time, all that kind of stuff. But I genuinely valued it as a 15-year-old. And there was thousands of other people that was older that valued it. But then, Exercise for Less comes along. I think there was probably the first as like a budget, £9.99 memberships. So I know like at the same time I'd maybe been open maybe a year, 2 years at that time. And I was there thinking, Christ, I was 18 years old, just taking on like this big space. £9.99 memberships coming on. And it devalued the fitness industry massively. People all of a sudden could just go into a gym, pay £9.99, wreck the change rooms, wreck the equipment, didn't care about it. A lot of people would suffer it because it just seems cheap. You've got Pure Gym JD, like in Hull, where we operate, I've got 2 clubs, and then you've got 2 Pure Gyms, and you've got a JD. So like, doubling your joining fee in January probably isn't going to work for a lot of independents because JD and Pure Gym are going 0 joining fee. So then like, as far as most people are concerned, 90% of any market just want to go to a gym because they know it's beneficial for them. They don't really know the full ins and outs as to why. They'll do the same routine 90% of the time. I think a lot of the reason why people don't choose to put price on what I did is fear of like what your audience that are in front of you that they can't speak to all the time. That as much as you put emails out and text messages to, don't engage. It's a fast-paced mentality. It's a McDonald's mentality. People expect to be able to like get everything, click of a button. We work with a lot of kids and we see it now where when we was all young kids and we wanted to go out with our friends, we had to probably go a couple of miles, knock on the door, be told he's having his tea, come back in half an hour. The delayed gratification was there. Where nowadays people can be very fickle. So if you're not at the height, if you're not reinvesting all the time, if you're not always clean, if you're not always there to say hello, like they'll very quickly forget obviously what you're offering. So I think there's no like necessarily right or wrong time to implement price increases. We do it in April because it sort of aligns itself with everybody getting a pay rise in terms of minimum wage going up and things like that. It's a little bit more palatable for people. But we do it on the back of we've had like the back end of the year is our biggest investment period because the gyms normally start quite often in December as well. So we'll renew things in change rooms, we renew saunas, we renew equipment, flooring, all that kind of stuff. So like last year, for example, we literally moved all of the gym, replaced the entirety of the floor to make it look cleaner, tidy and so on, put all the gym back, put some new pieces of equipment in. In January, you're always going to be competing against, especially if you don't have swimming pools and so on, you're competing against your Pure Gyms and your JDs, which probably a lot of us like here as independents probably will. So I think as long as you're invested, all the time and engaging with your membership and offering them what they want, people will pay for it.
I actually think the biggest advantage that we've all got as well as independents is with our marketplace, we're not having to wait for someone from head office to give us some instructions. You are the head office yourselves as the owner, and actually communication is a key thing to be. I think what differentiates an independent from a multi-site is a level of communication that you can offer as an independent. Now I know, there's a lot of things that can be automated now, but I'm also quite old-fashioned and traditional. So like I say, I started to evolve through hotel leisure. And when I first started out, memberships were back in those days were over £50. So in 1990, memberships was as high in 1990 as what it is today. And what you're starting to find out now, I think in 35 years of being in the industry, today has never been as optimistic for the health and fitness industry. We've got so much awareness, the Gen Zs and all the younger ones, they're already now becoming more adopted to regular exercise. The elders and people of my generation will all becoming increasingly aware of the importance of keeping active for longevity. And the one thing that independent health clubs gives is attention to detail. So all that little finishings, all the little, things that you're doing. Personalisation, because we can have the time to know our local membership base. And then by positive communication. And if there's someone we communicate by text and emails, but we're big on the telephone. So I've got all my different members of staff. So I've got a retention, somebody that looks after retention and does all the renewals, someone that follows up all the cancellations to find out, so we're always measuring and monitoring, tracking what are the reasons that people are not rejoining or why they're cancelling. So we're always asking, so we always force it, and we never delete anybody, they all just go back onto our prospects. And then we mop up, we tend to do sort of 3 or 4 major campaigns a year. So we launched in May, so we have a big birthday celebration every May. In September, we've embraced National Fitness Day, and we've made it our own over the last sort of 10 years. And that day alone this year exceeded £310,000 worth of sales in one day. It started off 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, at £32,000. So again, by practicing Kaizen, working together as project teams, it's amazing how you can grow and develop, but at the same time, by putting our prices up and by positive communication, the communication has a direct impact on how we measure and our retentions, and that is the essence of an independent. You know your local marketplace, and communicate openly, because people will willingly support. Even if the shit hits the fan, you'll realise that your local people will support the local businesses more than the major chains.
People will come back as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, when we put our price up for the first time, we went from, it was just after COVID as well, so we had £24 a month memberships, we jumped up to £30. So it's quite a big percentage increase. We had about 90 people leave from one club. Within 3 months, we'd surpassed like where we was in terms of membership. Rally deals with all the back end stuff like cancellations, renewals, people coming back into the pipeline. So a lot of people do come back because they do leave and go to your budget clubs because they think it's a price issue that is their problem. But then as soon as they start to experience that difference, so they go there because it's cheaper, but then they realise like this isn't as tidy, this isn't as well staffed,
not as clean,
not as clean,
not as well maintained,
it's not as good. And then all of a sudden when they're coming back, it's kind of like, well, even if you do have a staged kind of price increase throughout the year for new members and old members, these people are coming back and you kind of like, well, I kind of told you so. In terms of like what you offer is you back it.
Well, I looked at the title and it says panic to profit, and I always think, well, panic's an emotion and profit is a strategy. And it's about embracing wherever we are. Well, like you say, in 2020, we all had to close. And it's basically at that point, it's like, Christ, I've got no cash reserves. It was costing me £45,000 closed every month. And it was like, shit, what's going on here? And I'm sorry, whatever the government gave at £3,000 a month didn't cover me insurance costs. So basically, we got together as a team and we just played on, we might look like a big corporate, but we're actually a locally owned club employing local people for the benefit of the local community. Let's be here for each other. And yes, we lost about 20% of our membership in the first lockdown, but by the time of the second lockdown, we'd already regained our membership base because we went out on a social platform, we went to our membership base, we'd never done anything online before, but we said, right, what can we do as a team? So each member of the team did one class, they all went live on one class each, and you embrace something. Now, by the time we come out the third lockdown, we were in growth. We'd actually grown from where we were when we locked down, and by communicating positively, we went to our direct debit and we said, look, we need to cover, we turn everyone's direct debit into a charitable contribution at £10. So we just froze everyone's membership and we communicated it, and every one of our direct debit members retained. The only cancellations we got tended to be from the annual renewals. And then they rejoined once we'd reopened.
Guy, you were going to say something.
No, it sets it up really nicely, Sean, so thanks. And also, to your point, Jack, about Pure Gym came into Crewe while I was working with the trust to run 18 sites across Chester. And the whole of the senior management team, apart from the chief exec, were keen to do something about pricing, about the annual membership that they had. And the annuals were basically paid monthly on a direct debit of £26 a month, whereas the monthly no commitment was £30 a month. So £4 different. But this kind of talks to the calculate bit and the measure bit. I did some retention analysis, and the 12-month retention curve was very similar for both memberships, because actually they didn't really enforce the 12-month commitment. So Pure Gym were coming in, they're worried about pricing, and what we showed was that the monthly brought in another £19 over the year yield than the annual, the cheaper membership. And when the chief exec saw this on a nice and colourful chart, like, right, okay, I get it, the area under the graph is worth this, don't worry, I'm not going to go into any more analysis, but basically they decided rather than putting prices up, which they couldn't do with Pure coming in, they kept the £30 monthly DD price there and stopped doing the £26 annual. And by doing that, they brought in another £66,000 over the next 12 months. So it's not always about increasing the prices, sometimes it's about looking at alternative options within the business and understanding your numbers, and then saying, okay, well, we can do this, and actually we can take on Pure at the same price. Also, I think you've got a simpler offering now, and you're not saying, oh, if you sign up for this, then we can do it. No, that's how much it costs. It's £30 a month. We're not putting our prices up, but all those annuals who were or weren't are now paying it, so their price is going up. But
you can do plenty of things as well, like we have club enhancement fee.
Yep.
So like every year, all of our members in October pay an additional £10, which all of it gets reinvested back into the club.
Yep.
People pay it, people don't have an issue with it, and even if people sort of forget about it, and then they say, oh, my membership's just up to £10, as soon as you tell them, oh, it's just this, they don't bat an eyelid for fun.
But that becomes a habit and a repeatable thing, and they're almost asking you, oh, who is it?
We have like an annual renewal fee.
Yep.
So again, like on the anniversary of everybody's membership, everybody pays an additional fee, which again just obviously utilises, like, protects your profit, and obviously just goes back into the service and the level of what the club is. When I said about people are scared about putting price up because of Pure Gym, they are, but then also the benefits of having like cheaper entry into the market is that it does promote health and fitness like within the area. Lots more people that wouldn't necessarily step into a £50 a month membership will step into a 15, 18, £20 a month membership. And then when they then look to qualify out of that, I mean, social media is great for us now, because if people go to a gym 5-6 times, all of a sudden it'll start feeding them training videos on Instagram and YouTube and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden they'll realise, like, well, my Pure Gym don't have this.
Yeah, I want some service.
Yeah. Right? So then they go looking, I'm already paying £20, but I'm not getting what I'm after. Okay, well, I'll pay £30 and I'll go and find something else. They might spend 6 months there, or I'm going to go and spend £40 and get that. So you get the people that qualify all the time, obviously, into different areas. Like where one of our clubs are, we aren't far from like a David Lloyd. We saw so many people from David Lloyd come down in terms of price point to us, but then the feedback that we got from them, that we're a lot better training facility. So like going back into like the education on fitness and health now, like I said earlier, like people are genuinely invested in fitness and health. They don't just want to press quick start on the treadmill and then get off it. They want to know what they've run, why they've run it, You know, the difference of like, you know, running at different heart rates and all things like that, people are very aware of it now. So if you're offering that facility, people are self-qualifying them into an element of your, like you said, you've got multiple different training facilities. You have people that are members of your club that can use all of it, but only joined because they wanted to use one bit of it. Everything else is a benefit. You know, we have so many people that, I mean, I said I would never do a swimming pool because I don't have time to swim. But yeah, I'd like to have time to have a sauna. So I put saunas in, then found out I don't even have time for a sauna. But you know, we have people that do sign up just because they like the idea of a sauna. Pure Gym doesn't offer it. They're never going to use my studio. They're never going to use the 2 of the 3 different types of treadmills that we have. But for them, it's like exactly what they're.
I think also the one thing we're looking at is service at the end of the day, and that's the one thing that we have control over. And also as a local entrepreneur, you control your local marketplace of communication. So for example, you're never going to get a Pure Gym or gym looking at the local marketing. And you know, we work closely with our local press. I work closely with all our local stakeholders for communication to see how we can optimise our profile and presence across all the various communication platforms that are going out locally, and you become the local expert. And I think that's what we're always trying to do with a lot of my staff and my stars, and I try and elevate them so they become the local experts in their defined fields. So you have a specialist in strength and conditioning, a specialist in classes, a specialist in aquatics. So you try and find the geniuses of all your staff and try and elevate them, and they become part of your cultural awareness that differentiate, because you're never going to have a Pure Gym or a David Lloyd at corporate level really communicating aggressively at local level.
You'll need to turn off airplane mode.
So we're running to time here. I'm conscious that I haven't opened the floor for any questions. Just wanted to cover off a few of these other things on here. It's been really interesting listening to you three talk about your experiences and how you tackle it and how you're going to tackle it in the future. Some of the things you've got right, some of the things you've got wrong. So let's just whiz through these. So we talked sort of fairly openly about briefing the team and making sure the consistent message is delivered by them. So you as the leader of your business, and in Sean's example where he's got leaders in each one of his sort of sub businesses there, making sure the message is consistent. We are putting the prices up. This is what you're getting for it. Okay, reducing those member complaints coming in because the message is the same. Okay, and it's consistent. Guy.
Just, I would only words, but 5 words. I'd have downgrade save options as well in there. So put the prices up, but don't have a it's this or Pure Gym, have this, or you know what? For people, maybe it's an under the counter option.
Absolutely. Give an alternative.
I've got just pop in every month to jump on the meter.
Well, you could sell like either guest passes, you know, sort of packets to keep them at least engaged or connected to your organisation.
Have injection options for staff. Don't put those in the email because a lot of people go, "Oh, brilliant, thanks."
Yeah. Okay, and then measure. So I work for a software company. We're proud to say that our reporting can help you measure your current attrition, your retention rates, your sales rates, etc., etc. If you don't use ours, absolutely fine. But challenge your CRM software to be able to give you that information that you need. Because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We've all heard that statement. Okay. So if you don't know what the effect of your price increase has been, both from a financial perspective, positively or negatively, your membership numbers, your retention rates, complaints rates, whatever, then challenge your CRM system to be able to give you that information. And then finally, repeat. Do you do it regularly? Now, Jack, you say you've got your club enhancement fee. It's there. It happens every year. Everybody knows it because it's consistent, because the message is consistent, and actually you're giving that value back to the members because they can see your change rooms have been redone. This has been redone. We've got new treadmills, new this, new that. They're getting that value back for that £10 for 1.5 coffees. They're getting all that back. Any questions? Mr. Stevenson.
Well, thanks for that discussion. I really enjoyed it. Sean was listening to Sean and then Thank you, I really enjoyed that. One observation really, so what I've seen is that very similar to Sean, facilities and premium membership for that. And of course, right, they increased their price by £10. And as the fitness industry becomes more connected with the wellness and mental health, they put some involved scheme, which was access to GP skills and mental health practitioners for 50 people per member of their price of about 10 events. They lost 3 members of that plan, increasing them just by adding additional policies to just go back to that. So I've seen a lot of that where they're adding different value packages, such as that practitioner.
Yeah. Reward schemes. I mean, how many of you run a reward scheme? Members come in, they get their points for going to a class, to visiting the gym. How do they redeem that? You know, we work with a number of different reward schemes that are built into the system, and we integrate with. You know, you get a T-shirt, you get £5 off your membership next month, you get a free PT session just for coming to the gym. Well, I'm coming to the gym anyway, now I'm getting something better.
I'd also re-challenge that as well, is reach out to your local business community, the shops, the retailers, and look at other cafes and things like that. So you don't always have to burden the costs. So you can actually do reward schemes, but working with other people within your local community, not only are you reaching out, it becomes win-win, because at half the time, the more people that you're going out and working within the community that's engaged, the more people you've got cheerleaders. So, and you're not bearing the costs, because one of the things is it's quite easy to keep adding things and adding things and adding things. And, you know, we are a fitness business, and it was interesting yesterday in one of the seminars, it was don't put all your eggs into one basket for where your revenues are. But when you have a gym, it's quite hard to be anything else, because we're not retailers, and then to go and hold a lot of retail in stock, we're not good at stock control, you know what I mean? So it's about managing things that's actually, it is manageable, controllable, and that contributes to profit. But don't hesitate to go out into the community and create raving fans and cheerleaders.
Anybody else got another question? Yes, mate.
On the back of that, you're normally with T-shirts on top for what? Just to come into the club
Yeah.
regularly, or for bringing their members in, or what they get?
Whatever you like. Whatever you like. If it's I was talking to a company called Conquer yesterday. They reward members for simply visiting the gym. So they encourage that first 90-day period when a member's joined. If you've come 10 times in that 90-day period, we'll get you something, whatever it might be, whatever you, as Sean says, whatever you can muster through your local community. Or if you want to increase your secondary spend in the facility, you can get £10 for a PT session, or somebody I spoke to still got sunbeds, which I couldn't believe. You get a free sunbed session. Whatever you can muster, that doesn't erode your cost too much, but increases that number of visits that customers, you might want to move from 2 to 2.5 as your average, because the more times they come in, the longer they're going to stay. So it's individual to your business. What can you give to get something back?
I think if you just look as well, like what other clubs don't do. So we, for example, on a Monday, free workout?
So we've got weekly benefits. Monday is free shirt, Tuesdays electrolytes, Wednesdays free cream, Thursdays free coffee, Fridays DJ, Saturdays free to.
So again, like the thing is, like a bottle of water costs you like 11 pence, something like that. For us, it's like no other gym in the area. When they walk through the Pure Gym JD, we mentioned them today. Even like a David Lloyd, if you speak to someone at David Lloyd, they expect you to spend money. If you go into like a Pure Gym, there is nobody to speak to. They expect you to obviously communicate with a vending machine, which obviously people we all know now don't like the idea of. So for us to say, for example, give a member a bottle of water on average, they might come like say 3 or 4 times a week. It might cost us 40 pence a week, for example, to keep that member happy if they're getting like a coffee or a bottle of water, whatever it may be. But out of 2,500 members, you might only get 250 of them that actually take you up on that free bottle of water or free whatever. But if they then go to another gym, as I mentioned before, it's then the difference. Like they don't get that there. They don't get the communication. I think the idea of like having someone come, let's just say 90 times in 6 months, and getting a free T-shirt. Like, I mean, I was there in the past where you're looking at it thinking, yeah, but they should come to the gym anyway. But that's all right for me, like, 'cause I believe in fitness and health and the compound effects of that over a lifetime. But when you're looking at like the average person that isn't into fitness like we all are here today, giving them that freebie that Pure Gym don't give them, that David Lloyd don't give them, like that is then the difference. We partnered with a company called Infinity Club, that's based in Hull, but they are obviously going into other areas. I think they're in Leeds and York as well. And all of our members now on like their Apple Wallet can double click and it comes on like with the cards. There's a pass in there for the Infinity Club, and that gives them discounts at independent businesses. And the idea of like the Infinity Club is to keep the pound local to like the area of where you're based. But it's a directory, like so on ours there's over 80. It can be from coffee shops to restaurants to mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And again, like when you're showing somebody this in the club, and you go like, oh, do you recognise any of these 80 locations? Normally, people are, oh yeah, I recognise at least a handful of them. Well, when you last spent, how much did you spend? If you go for a meal, it might cost you £200. If there's 4 of you sit, well, you'd have saved 20 quid, you know, on that. You know, if you go for a coffee, you'd have saved £2 or £3 quid. You know,
Well, membership has privileges, doesn't it? And I think it's building that the value of your membership. It's no longer just a commodity item. You know, someone when I first came in the industry used to say, "Well, there's your credit card." You know, it had its privileges, and you were proud. But you'd never go and hand your credit card out, but you'd tell people about it, and it's because it's got privileges. And I suppose that's what we're just trying to build back now. Whereas we devalued with the budget. We didn't devalue. It expanded the marketplace, like we say, with the budgets. They have increased the marketplace and lowered the point of entry for people that wouldn't necessarily be attracted. But where we're going now is people are now looking for more knowledge and expertise and how to live healthier, longer, yeah, and independently as well. So
You had a question, sorry.
So in terms of increasing pricing and in terms of if you have potential on the premium essentially, but you're in between like so I'm from Northern Ireland, but I'm from Northern Ireland, you have potential on the premium essentially, but because it's such a small area, it's almost like it's market price saturated. There is quite a few gyms in the area now, maybe one facility that is probably a big facility, ours would potentially be better, but how do you manage the price increase with our current managers that are maybe stuck in that sort of small town mentality that you know, maybe the money's not there culturally?
I think for me, like I'd scale it. So one of my clubs is in a place called Seaham, which is just south of Sunderland. 27,000 people live there. You know, obviously it's got a surrounding area, but we opened up like the biggest club that I've got currently there. And people was like, you know, this is far too big, it's overscaled, blah, blah, blah. But we was then the biggest fish in the area. So rather than people going to like these little pockets of like, say, fitness and health and things like that, people obviously come over to us. People then heard further afield like how good we was. So then obviously we'd then travel into us. We opened up there, I think at the time, my other clubs was 35 to 40 pounds. When we opened there, we were pre-selling at that price. And we opened up with maybe 700 people on a pre-sale. Then grew thereafter to like now over 2,000 members at that club. So of the actual like population of Seaham, we've got like 10% of them on paper, say for example, signed up. But again, it's because we always, every 3 months, you know, we're looking at something new. Can we add some new additions, whether it costs us 11p for a bottle of water to give away, or whether it be to put a towel service in. That's going to provide a solution to 200 people's problem. You know, we're building a small group PT facility in there now because we launched small group PT maybe a couple of months ago, and they've now got 50 clients that are paying £200 a month on a regular basis for them sessions. So just scale it. You don't need to go from £30 to £50, you know, within 30 days. You know, you might go from 30 to 35. Like I went up £6 in my first sort of jump. But then I was like, right, well, what can I implement, which is then going to make sure that I bring a return, like sort of straight away, and also the value to members. So when they then go 30 quid and they're coming with objections and thinking it's very jarring, you're then easy to go, but this is the new club and this is the ideas that now that we're going to operate with going forward.
We've got to stop. I'm getting the windmill signal. I think it's been fantastic. Hopefully you have picked up a little nugget. So all my goal is for you to get a little nugget to take away. So Guy, thanks very much. Sean, thanks very much. Jack, thanks very much. My name's James. Chat to us afterwards. We'll be out on the Explore stand. These guys will be around for the day. I hope you've had a decent session. Thanks very much.